She's Missouri softball head coach Larissa Anderson. She joins us now. And look, of course, I want to ask her about her team. I want to ask her about Oklahoma and some SEC college softball things in general. But I know there's some Oklahoma fans going to Columbia this weekend. So we got to ask first what the hot spots are in town. For those
Oh,
who
you
be
want
there a
to hear?
weekend.
Okay.
Where does Larissa Anderson, where does she frequent in Columbia, Missouri?
Well, I'll tell you the hot spots. So Shakespeare's Pizza is number one in Barstool Sports, ranked up there, and that's the place that everybody hits for pizza. A local establishment downtown. Boucher's is the place to go for burgers. If you want some nice quality sit down, great atmosphere, you have Addison's. That's also downtown. That's a really good hot spot. That's where we end up taking a lot of donors and recruits when we're visiting. A lot of great places downtown. That's for sure.
So just go downtown, go to a restaurant and say Coach Anderson sent me, and they're gonna hook you up. That's basically it, right?
I don't know about the hooking up, but I mean they're gonna let you in, that's for sure. Yeah. A lot of great places. If you walk up and down Broadway, there's a lot of local establishments. It's an awesome college town, really great atmosphere.
Yeah. Well, it's crazy. You're 30 games in, and just for me watching games, it's gets to this point of where's the season been? Where's it gone? Still got a lot of softball left to play, but after 30 games, that's a pretty good sample size. Just kind of overall, how do you feel about your season up to this point through the first 30 games?
I'll start with where we've been in the last really 2 weeks, because we finally been able to be in our stadium and outside, and now we're starting to rise. That's been the biggest thing with us. I mean, the first 5 weeks we were on the road, so it really feels like that was a season ago. And I'm really comfortable with where we are right now, and where we're headed.
Yeah, and when I take a look at your schedule, it's that non-conference schedule is as tough as anyone else has played in college softball. Seemingly, Duke's on there, Florida State, Oklahoma State, Nebraska, a lot of really good teams. So through that stretch, and you mentioned maybe not getting to play those games in Columbia, what did you learn about your team during a non-conference schedule and stretch that was really difficult?
I think one of the biggest things is not many have played a schedule as tough as us. I mean, at one point, I think we were third in the country in strength of schedule. So it has been gruesome. It's taught us a lot and exposed us a lot early on in where we needed to improve. And a lot of it just came down to one inning that we were making too many mistakes and putting up double digit runs were going up against us, not double digit, but multiple runs in an inning were going against us. And we were able to come back from that. The growth that I've seen is we're starting to put it all together. Our defense has been pretty solid. We're getting quality pitching, and really it's coming down to the timely hitting right now.
NCAA tournament is this week, and for a lot of just regular sports fans, it's the best 2 days of the entire year. And it's awesome. I mean, it's great. But, I'd argue that, the first couple of days of an NC softball regional that weekend with so many games going on is incredible. And, last year I got to watch your team quite a bit in the postseason, and just the crowds that your program brought. I mean, you could really tell through watching on TV that, there's a lot of people that care about softball out there, and the passion there is really fun. So with that, what kind of crowd and what kind of atmosphere are you expecting this weekend in Columbia?
I think we're going to have a great crowd. I know we've had season tickets sold out for the past 3 or 4 years. So we have a really strong fan base, and I know that the community and softball in the state of Missouri is really excited about this matchup. So I expect sellout crowds. We have an amazing berm in the outfield that gets packed, and we can pack them in as long as they want to keep walking through that front gate. So we had over 4,000 at our regionals and super regionals in each game matchup. So I'm expecting crowds to be close to those numbers. It'd be awesome if we break those numbers just because it's so great for the game.
Yeah, and look, I know that you want to make it to Oklahoma City and win a national championship. You had the great run last year with the great crowds. Did that give the program a lot of momentum after last year and having all those crowds out and playing so well? How do you view last year and kind of what it did for the program just overall moving forward?
I think what it does is it puts softball at a different level within the university, and the commitment in terms of like just our sport in general, that softball can make revenue, and that, you have stadiums, and Oklahoma is one of them, that you have stadiums that are large and you can draw crowds over 4,000. And I know if we continue to build these stadiums, that it's going to put softball on a very even keel with even women's basketball and being able to draw on revenue. And that's really the goal, is to continue to grow our sport, to make it more national, to bring more viewership to our sport so that we can continue to grow and expand.
You and your team were in Norman for the 2023 regional. So you've spoken to Patty Gasso before. I mean, you know Patty Gasso. How many times have you two spoken? And just kind of what do you think about her overall as a head coach in the sport?
I mean, she's tremendous. She's really set the bar for collegiate athletics and
Mhm.
softball as a whole. She has an unbelievable reputation. She's an unbelievable coach. I'm extremely proud that she's going to be representing Team USA
Yeah.
moving forward. I mean, she deserves it, and she's extremely successful, and everybody is chasing what she's accomplished. And our sport can't grow. And I'm the president of the NFCA, and I speak to Patty on occasion when we're at our national convention. And you have to see it to believe it. And Patty has set the bar. And now it's something that if you invest in softball on your college campuses, like this is something that you can eventually try to accomplish and go. But if someone isn't setting the bar, then you don't really know what you're reaching for.
Yeah. Well, and it feels like the team that she has this year, kind of the same qualities of teams that she's had in the past. This team kind of has those again. But what are your overall thoughts on just kind of this Oklahoma team as they get ready to come to Columbia this weekend?
I mean, they're always strong, top to bottom. I mean, anybody even that comes out of the dugout is one of the top players in the country, and you can't make mistakes to players like that and teams like that. Like you might have one opportunity to be able to capitalize, to be able to get as a runner in scoring position or be able to score that runner, and if you're not ready for that moment, the moment's going to pass you by, and you can't make mistakes to teams that are the top teams in the country. So we just have to play almost perfect and flawless softball and take advantage of the opportunities when we have them.
You and I are talking the morning after your team beats Illinois. So, kind of a two-part question here. One, do you feel like your team is at this point playing its best softball of the season? And two, what are kind of some of the big keys or some of the big things that you want to see from your team in this series this weekend?
No, I wouldn't say we're playing our best softball right now, and I wouldn't want to be playing our best softball in
Mhm.
March. I want to play our best softball in April going into the postseason, and that way we're always continuing to rise to the peak. So that's our ultimate goal. But we are putting it together, and I'm seeing that every day we're playing better softball than we were yesterday.
On more of a personal note here, 2 weeks ago, I interviewed Ashley Chastain Woodard, new head coach at South Carolina. She comes from Charlotte, and her husband is the head coach for Charlotte baseball. So they got a situation where she's coaching now at South Carolina. Her husband is coaching at Charlotte. And this is well documented with you. I don't know how many Oklahoma fans know this, but your husband, the double-A manager for the Springfield Cardinals. So that's very, very unique. Like, how does that? I know you've told the story a bunch, but how does that work out during the season, especially with MLB season about to begin?
It's actually the season's perfectly aligned. He starts spring training in the second week of our season in February. So he's able to watch us play opening weekend down in Florida. And then his spring training is in Jupiter. So he's currently still down there right now. And then when spring training ends next week, he'll head home, pick up his pickup truck, and then
Yeah.
drive on down to Springfield. But the timing's absolutely perfect. And when we first met each other and got married, it was let's pursue our careers, and whichever one takes off more will follow. And both of our careers took off at the same time. So it was like, this is going to work out, that you can pursue your passion in coaching professional baseball. He's home right after Labor Day, so he can come back and enjoy some Mizzou football games and the
Yeah.
Mizzou basketball games. So the timing and the seasons really align well.
Okay, just two more for you. And, I adding Oklahoma and Texas to the SEC obviously makes the league better. But I feel like the SEC has been the strongest conference in softball for a few years now. And this was a sport that was once dominated by the West Coast. So really the question is what happened, coach? Was it more facilities? Was it more investment amongst, teams in the Southeast? If the SEC really is the best conference now, how did it get to where it was so West Coast dominant? Not the West Coast isn't good anymore, it is, but it just seems like the SEC is really invested in the sport. How do you see the rise of SEC softball, certainly since you've gotten to Missouri?
Well, I believe it starts with our leadership within our conference with Greg Sankey, and it's his vision for the conference as a whole, not only just softball but all the sports. I mean, he's made reference to our men's basketball staff and within the entire conference saying if every single team in softball can get into the NCAA tournament, why can't every sport be that way? Our teams need to commit, our schools need to commit to athletic programs, and our coaching needs to be at the top notch. So it comes from that leadership. And then when you have the TV contracts and the ESPN support, you have the viewership. So now you're in everyone's household across the country. And I think that's what has really separated the SEC and put the SEC at a level to be able to get that exposure nationally all year long.
Last one, and we talked about, your crowds that you have, and really you just kind of look across the sport and across the SEC and the crowds that college softball generating right now. It's awesome. And the TV numbers for the Women's College World Series are great right now. Now, the sport can still even get better and better moving forward, and let's all hope that continues to happen. Where do you think college softball is at right now? Where do you think it's done a great job in growing? And are there any things kind of moving forward that you see that, hey, maybe we can do this to allow the sport to continue to grow?
Oh, you're kind of opening up a can of worms, and the passion of mine right now is I would love to see softball and baseball season move back. February to play and to start your season, you can't do it on your college campuses other than maybe a eighth of the country, down in Southern Florida and Southern California, and only Arizona during the day because you can't play at night because it gets too cold down there as well. If we could start a little bit later, we're playing on college campuses earlier in the season. And then we're drawing crowds, and you might have the ability of a Southern school going up to a Northern school to play in March or maybe even April. But you can't do that right now based on what the calendar looks like with our seasons. So I think that would grow our sport, and that would be able to attract more investment. I mean, it's extremely hard. And you look at some of the schools in the Big Ten to be able to improve their facilities and increase their capacity when they only have 10 home games. So being able to give them an opportunity to play more home games is just going to grow the sport and grow the viewership.
Coach, appreciate it so much. Best of luck with this weekend, and best of luck the rest of the year.
Thanks so much. MIZ.